Here at the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph, we have quite an expensive electricity bill. I don't know if you know this, but one of the things that I told Bishop DiMarzio before my installation as rector, pastor of this beautiful co-cathedral in this parish was the price of our Con Edison bill each month. You know, we not only do we keep the lights on pretty much all day long as the church is open for those who wish to visit, but because of the television aspect of the parish, we have these lights shining on me right now that are really blinding, right? Our lectors know it. If you look up, you catch a light, it shines right on you. And they're really theatrical lights that are shining down to make sure that the altar is illuminated. And then outside, because it's the co-cathedral, because it's such a beautiful building, we illuminate the outside of the church at night. And the lights are on the facade of the church around the whole building until, they were on until like 3 in the morning. We shortened that till about midnight. So at midnight, all the lights now go off. But our Con Ed bill is near $10,000 a month. $10,000 a month, which is unbelievable. And that's not the point of the homily. I'm not here to say, please help support keeping the lights on at the co-cathedral. But it actually, the lights that we have outside of the co-cathedral really work to the point of this homily, to what I was mentioning this morning at Mass. There was a story on this All Saints' Day that I've always remembered, and it's really quite a beautiful one to recall this solemnity of the saints. There was a story of a young class, you know, second graders, third graders, who were brought into the church for a tour. And the teacher was there, and she was teaching the kids about the different, you know, statues that were in the church, the traditions of lighting the candles in front of the statues. She was teaching them all the lingo, you know, what the tabernacle is, the sanctuary lamp, the baldacchino, the altar, the chalice, the paten, the corporal, all of the lingo that's important, you know, for the Mass. And then the teacher began to ask the students, you know, we also, as Catholics, we believe in the intercession of the saints. And she said, who are the saints? Who are the saints? And one of the young children in the class points up at the stained glass windows, which, you know, why I mentioned our electricity bill is because you can see them all. They're illuminated from the outside here, so you can see. And one of the students points at, you know, the stained glass windows. And the teacher said, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a picture of a saint. That's a picture of a saint. That's a picture of a saint. And the student said, no. The saints are the ones that the light shines through. Los santos son las personas que la luz pueden dar, ellos pueden dar la luz, porque ellos no son oscuros. Ellos tienen la luz de Cristo adentro de su cuerpo, como los vidrios de la iglesia. The saints are the ones who allow the light to shine through them. They're transparent enough to allow the light to shine through them. Today is a day in which we are called to recognize that is our call. Este es nuestra llamada de tener la oportunidad que la gente que no nos conocemos, ellos saben que nosotros somos miembros de la familia de Cristo. Ellos saben por la luz que está adentro de nuestros corazones, la luz que está adentro de nuestras almas, son una luz que es de Cristo, que es una luz de Cristo. Hoy día no es solamente un día para saber que sí hay bastantes santos en el cielo y el proceso de canonización, que es una cosa larga, pero este no es solamente un día para decir gracias a Dios por los santos que tenemos, por la intercesión de ellos en nuestras vidas. la intercesión de San Patricio en mi vida, la intercesión de San Cristóbal en mi vida, la intercesión de San Juan Bosco en mi vida, trabajando con los jóvenes, evangelizando como Patricio, ayudando a la gente, trayendo a la gente a Cristo como San Cristóbal. No solamente los santos que están, están orando y ayudándonos en el cielo, pero también es para pensar en nuestra llamada que nosotros necesitamos vivir como personas con la luz de Cristo adentro de nuestros corazones. Esta es nuestra llamada. Esta es la llamada de ser un santo. This is the call to be a saint. To allow the light of Christ to shine forth from us. I often say when someone sees you and they say, oh, that's my friend, that's my neighbor, that's my cousin, that's my brother, that's my husband, my wife, and they're always in church. They go to church every Sunday. My neighbor, every Sunday, he or she goes to church every Sunday. Well, on Wednesday, do they recognize that you are a follower of Christ? On Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday? Or is it just on Sunday mornings when they see you leave your apartment, your house, when they see you check in church? It is our call, truly our call, to be inspired by the saints, those who have been recognized by the church, these men and women, and children and youth, and teenagers like Carlo Acutis, teenager in our church who has been recognized as a young man following the path of Christ, allowing the light of Christ to shine through his heart, to shine through his life. Saint Maria Goretti, another saint for the teenagers of our community. Saint John Bosco, a saint that I have a great devotion to, who assists me with my evangelization, my efforts with the youth. St. Patrick, who assists me with my evangelizational efforts. St. Christopher, who assists me in bringing others to Christ, the Christ bearer, the bearer of Christ. All of the saints, St. John Vianney, the patron saint of parish priests. All of the saints that I myself have a personal connection to, a devotion to. St. Michael the Archangel, whom I have such a great devotion to. Today is not just a day in which we recognize their intercessory powers, their intercessory assistance over us. It's a day in which we recognize that we are too called to be saints. We are too called to be saints. And it's the work of the devil, absolutamente el trabajo del diablo, que decir a nosotros que no puedo ser un santo, no puedo vivir como un santo, no puedo dar toda mi vida a Dios. It's the work of the devil to dupe us into thinking that sainthood is for someone else and not for us. I thought, really it's been a blessing for me to be able to assist Bishop Brennan in his diocesan podcast. Now, if you need to know what a podcast is, I would say ask a family member, how can I find these podcasts? But Bishop Brennan has himself a podcast called Big City Catholics. Last week, and I assist him on this podcast as his co-host. Last week in our podcast, Bishop Brennan mentioned, he said, the saints were not perfect people. They were not perfect people. I mean, just look at them. Look at the lives of the saints. Look at two, for example. Look at St. Augustine. Look at Saul, who, after his conversion, was known as Paul. These were not perfect people. These were people who struggled. People who had troubles with, Saul, who persecuted Christians, who went out of his way to make the life of someone who was a follower of Christ more difficult. Augustine, who had his own struggles. These were not perfect people, but yet they were open enough to allow themselves to receive that call to be open enough to allow themselves to receive that sense of conversion and follow Christ. You know, each and every one of us has an aspect of our lives that we still need to shed. We may come to Mass on Sundays, we may be here today on this holy day of obligation, and God bless you for being here and present today. But are we perfect? No. Yo soy perfecto? No. Nosotros somos pecadores, nosotros somos imperfectos y necesitamos Dios para ayudarnos en esta vida, en esta conversión de nuestro corazón, para ayudarnos en este camino de fe, en este camino de conversión. Y por eso hoy día tenemos esta oportunidad de orar, de pensar en las vidas de los santos y decir gracias a Dios por estos ejemplos, que podemos también saber que sí hay partes de nuestro corazón, hay partes de nuestra vida que necesitamos cambiar, que necesitamos convertir para ayudar, para vivir más cerca de Él, para vivir en la manera que Cristo quiere. Y hoy día es una otra oportunidad. Hoy día es otra oportunidad de vivir en la manera que Él quiere. Con la ayuda de Dios, con la ayuda de los santos, con la ayuda de Él en su santísimo sacramento, podemos vivir como los santos que Él quiere. May God bless us today on this beautiful day in which we are reminded of our call to be saints. Let us never give up our hope to think that we will never be the saints that we were called to be, that because of our sinfulness, because of our skeletons, because of our faults, our weaknesses, our temptations, that we will never ever overcome them. Well, with the help of God, may we overcome them. With the help of God, with the help of His presence in the most holy sacrament of the altar, and with the help of our choir of angels and saints in heaven, may we become the saints that God has called us to be. Amen.